favorite Happy Earth Day. Let's get Peggy Denny, our local Earth Day superhero, on the line. Good
Happy
morning,
belated birthday, by the way.
Peggy.
Oh, yes, I'm here.
Okay, happy belated birthday.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It was a little strange, but it was still good.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of strange birthdays in the last month or so.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So happy Earth Day, and I'm just wondering, mentally, what are you thinking about on this Earth Day? Given that this is obviously the weirdest Earth Day ever. You know what I mean? So where are you at
Well,
now, Peggy?
um, basically, we being iRecycle, want to launch an effort to encourage people to separate out their aluminum cans from their trash. Do not throw them away. Aluminum cans are one of the, if not the only valuable recyclable or household recyclable that we have, and I hate to see them all go in the landfill.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just encouraging people to separate them out and bag them, and then when the schools resume, then they can take them to their school to be recycled through the iRecycle program. There's really no need for us to be throwing those away, and even though we're not promoting that people take them to the schools right now because they do need to stay home. If someone has a backyard full of bags of cans, this is something that I am striving to do, but it just takes one person. I go pick them up and I can take them to a school that I have access to. But this is not something that we're encouraging people around the island to do. We just want them to save them and not throw them away. We did receive a payment just in the last week or two on our for our 20th container that we shipped off in early February. And so I am working on the breakdown for the schools to have payments ready for them so that when the schools resume, I can deliver payments to all the participating schools.
Peggy, are you finding that people are producing more garbage now that we're all staying home and we're consuming a lot of food, we're cooking a lot of food?
You know, Chris, I really don't know that for sure. I'm assuming that people have not stopped drinking beverages, whatever the beverage is, in an aluminum can, and I just don't want to see them go into the landfill. We're having a truly challenging time with plastic, and that is one thing that I would like to encourage people to do is to stop drinking beverages in bottles. I just was reviewing a site that says that we in the United States consume 73 billion beverages in plastic bottles a year. And I mean, that is just mind-boggling. We need to make a proactive effort to reduce that number significantly because we now have no place to ship our plastics 1 and 2 to. And so that means that everything that is being generated, for a while it's been baled and stockpiled at Pyramid Recycling. They are the recipient of the plastics generated in the curbside recycling and the transfer stations. But with the curbside recycling not being picked up and people being advised to just throw all that away, put it in their household trash, then the amount of that going into the landfill is going to increase substantially and certainly diminish drastically our efforts to try to reduce the waste going into the landfill and extend the life of the landfill.
Peggy, are you on the Solid Waste Authority board?
Yeah.
So they decided that they were going to stop curbside recycling?
Well, that is the position that management has taken. I had a bit of a challenging time because I lost my phone, and so I couldn't access anyone because I also tether Wi-Fi with my phone. So I was a bit incommunicado for a while, and I missed a GSWA meeting. There is one coming up this Friday where that I definitely will be able to attend, via Microsoft Teams. But if a decision was made at that meeting, then I'm not aware that the board was actively involved in that decision.
Wow. This is one of the side effects, Peggy, of the suspended the open government law. So, we don't know what's going on.
Well, and I'm not saying whether or not the board was involved. They may very well have been. But it's important to understand that the concern lies with those individuals at Guahan Waste Control, aka Mr. Rubbishman, that are required to sort through all that material that comes from the curbside recycling and the transfer stations. Mm-hmm. And because they don't have the appropriate PPE that they should be wearing while they're doing that sorting, including the N95 face masks, then they have decided that they're not going to put their employees at risk, and that's why the curbside recycling is not being picked up.
I mean, there is
effect.
There's a risk, right? Because we've seen some of the science on how long this COVID-19 can survive on surfaces.
Exactly, and that's what they're concerned about, and so I certainly understand their decision to not proceed with that at this time. But if we, and I really don't know the likelihood of finding an entity that will accept our plastics 1 and 2 for recycling, and I think that we're going to have to be far more aggressive in reducing the plastic that we generate, and hopefully finding some means of processing it here into something that could be a viable option.
I think we just got to start plastic shaming people.
Well, and one of the things that people are often concerned about is they think that they're concerned about the safety of our water, and they really do need to be aware that our water meets US EPA water quality standards, and they really need to be drinking tap water. And if they don't like the taste, then I just encourage them to get a filter. But also, we need to keep in mind the volume of trash that we are generating with this current situation with plastics and our inability to recycle them. Then, Chris, I don't know if we need to do plastic shaming or if we need to try to be more positive and encourage people to use reusable water bottles and flasks. Take a stand and be proactive in assisting the island with this challenge.
Peggy, you do the nice way. I'll do the plastic shaming.
Okay, that's a deal.
Two-prong approach.
But getting back to aluminum, like I said, aluminum is really right now the only valuable recyclable we have that's generated at home, and we don't want that going into the landfill.
Right.
Now, the general manager, Larry Gast, commented that the ability to recycle is severely impacted, and that these various recyclables are not being accepted for recycling. Anytime there's any sort of an economic crisis that impacts the need for and the value of recyclables. But it takes us many months to fill a 40-foot container with baled aluminum. And I really do feel that by the time we have sufficient bales of aluminum to fill a 40-foot container, that this whole crisis will have been resolved, and we will be able to proceed. So that's why I want to encourage people to separate out their cans and just wait till the schools resume. I did have an opportunity to speak to Dr. Kelly Sokola yesterday one of the assistant superintendents, and she did say that once the restrictions are lifted, then the schools will reopen at least with their 12-month staff. And so we will be able to take cans to the participating schools. And just so you know, we now have 48 schools participating, and we are planning on shipping in one more shipment of 12 of the 6 cubic yard plastic recycling bins that we had been putting out at the schools to replace the old metal bins with, so that we will have 60 schools participating in the iRecycle program. And so Glimpses, a partner of iRecycle, has created some awesome maps of Guam that indicate where the participating schools are. And so that's something that we will be promoting aggressively as well, so people do know where they can take cans to the schools. And I'm also more than willing to help those entities or individuals who have more than they can handle. So it's just something that we need to do. You know, it's the right thing to do, and it's a good thing for Guam, and it's a good thing for Guam schools.
Well, Peggy, I want to thank you for calling in, and you're right. This is something that there's so many ripple effects of COVID-19, and this is something I didn't even think about it, and so I'm glad that someone is keeping track of it, and I'm glad it's you.
Well, I mean, people are keeping track of it, but iRecycle just really wants to push this so that we at least reduce the aluminum cans going into the landfill. And one other thing, if I could just add one more comment. We have not had an entity that is accepting paper for recycling, as well as paperboard, which is like cereal box type cardboard. We haven't had one to ship those materials to for quite a while. Now, GSWA did not make an announcement to the general public or those receiving curbside recycling service because we didn't want to change that behavior. But those materials are having to be separated out and disposed of in the landfill. So what I have been trying, myself and others have been trying to encourage people to do is to shred it and to use it for mulch, to use it for composting, to use it for bedding chickens and roosters, so that we divert that material from the landfill, but make use of it, in our own homes and gardens and farms.
We do have a question from one of our viewers. You mentioned the aluminum cans. What about metal cans? Should they also hold on to those?
Yeah, I have heard that Global Recycling, which has been a metal recycling facility here on Guam for years, closed down for a month. But I know that Pyramid and its sister company are still accepting metal, and metal is a valuable recyclable as well. Not as valuable as aluminum, and the value has dropped significantly, but those can be separated out. You can take them to the transfer station as long as the containers or their big roll-offs are not full. Once they're full, then they are going to be taken to the respective entities, for recycling, that then they will not be available until the restrictions are lifted. So I would encourage people to take them to the transfer stations as long as they can, and then save them, and then take them, depending on where you live, take them to Pyramid or their sister company for recycling.
All right, Peggy, thank you so much, and I want to wish you a happy Earth Day, and wash your hands, okay?
Well, if I must. Okay, thanks so much.
Okay.
You too. Have
Take
a
care.
wonderful day.
Bye, you too. There you go, Peggy Denny. 9:25. We'll take a real quick break and continue with containing COVID after this.
Full price.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.